Windhorse Evolution's move last year to a new HQ called Udayana was a chance to explore a new kind of working environment.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya.
This space doesn't differ massively from an ordinary warehouse and offices, but I think it differs in the sense that it's definitely been designed around our particular needs, particularly the need for space for ritual and team meetings, and to include a friendly working environment whereby people can be in good communication with each other. What we've noticed quite quickly is because the aesthetics, the colours, the design, the tidiness are of a higher level than the old HQ, people seem to want to keep it at that kind of level. In fact, there are plans to improve things and develop. I don't think we've really fully evolved in terms of our working space yet. We've only been here a few months. There's a general feeling that it matters, it enhances our working lives to have this kind of environment. We have this wonderful stupa being built right in the centre of the warehouse, so that all the activity, all the picking and packing of orders, the unloading of lorries, etc., takes place within the site of this beautiful stupa, or it will be when it's completed, when Ron's finished it.
The original is in the British Museum. There's a votive stupa about 2 to 3 foot tall. The votive stupas they obviously didn't contain anything. They literally represent just what they are. This is a stupa that represents my belief. A small votive stupa. It's not a reliquary or anything like this, but we've expanded it somewhat. In effect, the style of this stupa, I think, is actually quite rare. Northern Indian stupas, the original ones, a lot of them were destroyed when the Muslims invaded. So the Northern Indian style of drum stupa, tower stupa, is actually very rare. In a strange way, all I'm making is a place for them to put their own figures. Each section of Windhorse, I hope, perhaps the women's wing, the shops, the warehouse crew and the office team, or some similar variation, will find a figure that will fit into these niches. The actual full height of the original was the height of this one piece, so it's about 7 times as big as the original in the British Museum. It will be just under the highest beam in the place, the centre beam across the centre of the warehouse here. When I've finished it, I'll be able to see the stupa from where I'm standing above the racks.
So you're constantly being reminded of the spiritual purpose of your work. It's not just a job, it's something much more than that. It's part of our spiritual vision, our working lives. You'll notice that the names of some of the rooms relate to positive mental states in Buddhism. So we have Hari and Apatrapya, names like this for the names of our meetings rooms. So people will often say, "I'll see you in Apatrapya at 2 p.m. And that's quite a nice thing to do. It's reminding ourselves of the Dharma on a regular basis. The colours used in the decoration and the carpeting were quite carefully chosen by our designers here to be restful and conducive to positive mental states.
And the colours also define the spaces, so working office spaces are greenish, meeting rooms are kind of terracotta, and then sort of pass-through spaces are lilac. And it also tones in with our evolution colours, which I kind of like the idea of, because we're trying to bring the whole business together more. that the more aesthetic you can make your environment, the more your mindfulness can expand into it, because in a sense I think beauty encourages mindfulness. So I think if you just treat the space that you have as sympathetically and as beautifully as possible, then that will bring out sort of spiritual qualities, if you like, of mindfulness. I think the main thing I enjoy about the space is the natural light. That's been one of the main things we've tried to use, is including all the glass, and it's such a beautiful view of the sky, and it feels like that's kind of really brought into the building.
I think one of the main features that's emerged since we've moved is that this is a temple to spiritual practice. We're not simply making money as dana for the FWO and TBHG, valuable as that is. Many individuals have told me that since we moved here, they've really realised how important Sangha at work is for them. This is their Sangha at work, and some of their closest spiritual friendships are within their teams and their working environment.
In terms of the move itself, I thought it brought the best out of us, in that it was a major project which involved most people working considerably harder than they usually do, because we, as much as possible, we're trying to keep the business going and relocate. And we work quite hard at cooperation, and it was good to find that when it came to a bit of a crunch, our ability to cooperate came through quite well. I thought it showed it as our best.
One thing I didn't want to do was to plan it all and have it all completely tied down. Really what I wanted to do was to create spaces or an environment which suggest a particular ritual or provide the opportunity for a particular ritual development, but that would develop over the years as we get used to the building, as we relate to it, as that relationship grows, really.
As time goes on, I think it will become more like, I don't know, a ritual space, the warehouse, as the sort of the stupa rises to the 7 meters that it's supposed to go to. I suppose everybody will start and getting more of a sense that this is a place where we come to do spiritual practice, not just ordinary mundane work.
With the stupa here, it's like, for me, going past it every day, I feel as though there's something radiating out from it. It makes the whole space even more of a place of practice.
The first thing you notice is a lot more space, physical space, but it sort of creates more of like a psychological space between people, so you're not like on top of each other. You're not in each other's space, as it were.
In the mornings we go and sit in the dining room and watch the bunnies running around on the hillside. That's great.
I'm very affected by colours and whether an environment is aesthetically pleasing or not, whether it's old and dirty or in bad repair. And it's made a huge difference to my working life.
I think more than the color scheme, I do like all the little shrines everywhere. In the places that have been designated for plants and stuff, there's a lot more designated places for aesthetic, just for aesthetics.
We've got to a size now where the whole business doesn't come together very often. And one of the main ways in which we do come together is through ritual. So, for example, as the stupa has been progressing, we did a ritual to get it started. We've done a ritual to seal certain things inside of it just a week ago.
What we've done is bring the relics and the symbolic representations of our efforts in the past in the old site at the old Windhorse, and we brought that into this site here, into the stupa, which is the centre of this mandala, and we've done it in a very symbolic and ritualistic way to draw out more and more significance of what we're doing. it's setting the ground for a more imaginative engagement with what we do. So we've moved, we're in a new building, but there's much more that we can make of that, and we can engage much more of ourselves if we engage our imagination in this sort of way.
In theory, at least, we would try and treat the place as though it were an urban monastery, and attempt to be mindful and friendly and positive at all times. And I think we have got a building that at least it's up to us to make the effort, but the building at least supports it and to some extent facilitates that vision.